The air was thick, humming with anticipation. I felt his gaze steady, intense. He'd been patient, waiting, holding back, but not anymore. I turned, meeting his eyes. He wasn't just watching now. I lifted my fingers, just a quiet invitation. His breath caught his body, tensed, and then he got up before we jump in. Please do me a quick favor, like this video, and hit subs. Subscribe, it's free, takes only a second, and helps more than you think. Plus, you'll never miss the next story. Now let's get started. His hands rested against my waist, holding me close as our bodies moved together. Every deep breath, every subtle movement kept my skin warm with lingering energy. Don't stop, I murmured, my voice barely above a breath. The tension between us built, lingering until my body relaxed completely against his. He let out a slow breath, pulling me close as we settled into the quiet comfort of the moment. For a while we just lay there, the warmth between us lingering. His fingers traced slow circles along my back, his chest rising and falling in steady waves. But something about the silence felt different. I turned my head slightly, watching him. "You're quiet." He let out a soft chuckle. "Just thinking," I smirked, letting my fingertips graze his skin. "Have you ever noticed how the instant when you eventually stop, draw back, chasing, as soon as you stop talking, something odd occurs, and she abruptly appears colder and more distant, as though there's a problem. But in your heart, you sense it. You don't realize that something is changing. Determine whether she is testing or slipping away, how much you still care about her. Pay great attention, as this is the portion most men don't realize it until it's too late. Late. A woman who loves you won't always get closer. Sometimes she pulls away. Additionally, if you don't comprehend that psychology, you'll ruin the actual relationship that she was attempting to safeguard. And many guys believe that love entails consistency. Consistent love and consistency, warmth of feeling. However, women don't love in a straight line. They adore being in waves. Additionally, those waves increase in size the more she has a genuine feeling. When a female starts to show interest in you, you initiate a portion of her brain that is programmed to defense of her heart, her value, her emotional security. Additionally, when she understands how important you are, she fears losing their emotional authority around you. Therefore, rather than moving closer, she occasionally retreats, not since she is not in love with you, but since she does. You see, males are perplexed. Rejection and disengagement. Women make use of disengagement as a gauge of stability, when she watches you while ignoring you. Answer: she's watching the electricity within the quiet. She wishes to observe whether your curiosity wanes as soon as she stops giving it food. She's determining your emotional core. She would like to know if you panic, if you spiral, if you begin to doubt yourself, or if you hold your ground as though a man whose worth is independent of her pay attention. Since a woman can only be in love a man she can trust with confidence. Additionally, she can only have faith in a man who remains stable when she is silent. In actuality, women ignore in two ways. Fear is the first, fear of being overly concerned, fear of failing herself within you, fear of injury once more. Instinct is the second, the instinct to evaluate the strength of your contribution to her existence. A woman who loves you will become extremely conscious of everything you take action. She can recall your voice, your answers, your quiet. She makes the payment paying attention to whether your masculinity is either reactive or steady. She is curious as to whether you are powerful enough to maintain her whirlwind of emotions. Consequently, the more she suddenly feels for you, gets erratic due to her heart is awakening more quickly than her reasoning can calm down. However, this is what most men receive. Incorrect. They keep her at a distance. Personally, they pursue more assiduously. They dispatch lengthy messages. They want everything to be clear. They reassure her emotionally that she didn't request. They believe they are repairing the link, but they're really demonstrating all of her worries of falling in love with them. Because a man who becomes anxious while he's far away is a man who is untrustworthy proximity. A man who develops neediness when the man she backs off of wasn't solidly standing on his own 2 feet to start with. And she senses it in her gut. A woman who genuinely loves you doesn't want you to pursue her when she pulls away. She desires that you remain self-assured, and grounded. She wishes to demonstrate that her quiet doesn't endanger your identity, that she's cold, your strength is not frozen in a moment, that you are not emotionally dependent on her performance in order to feel more masculine. When she disregards you, she doesn't require assurance. She requires security, not words, but vigor, not assurances, but presence, patience rather than pursuit. However, what breaks everything, do you know? When a man handles her brief retreat like desertion, when he believes that love is dying, but in reality it's getting deeper, when he senses that she is becoming disinterested, when she's truly feeling overpowered by how she feels a lot. A woman doesn't overlook A, she tells him that she's done with him, directly. Cleanly, she disconnects. She becomes calm, but not aloof. However, when she disregards you while continuing to observe your behavior, you'll realize something. Something more powerful is taking place. Her heart is attempting to comprehend yours. Thus, allow me to ask you now. As she retreats, do you pursue or do you remain focused? Do you give up or do you maintain your position? Leave a comment with your response. Additionally, if this message strikes a chord within you, such as give this video a subscribe and share it with a man who should hear it. There's a delicate, perhaps imperceptible truth regarding women that are rarely seen by men. The more she cares about you, the more she will put you to the test. Additionally, this testing frequently comes in the form of apathy. It's not brutality. Manipulation is not what it is. It's a gauge of your power. Every look she withholds each postponed response, she appears deeply invested at all times. Elsewhere, it's her method of requesting a silent query. Are you strong enough to manage me? Are you able to endure my absence and continue to prosper? If you interpret this incorrectly, you give her the response to her rejection. She worries that you're uneasy, reliant, and prone to shaking. Consider it. From the start, when attraction sparks, a woman's thoughts are continuously performing computations. She is evaluating what you are, not just who you are to her. Additionally, when feelings turn into strong, her innate tendency is to defend herself. She is unwilling to. She does not want to lose you, yet she does not want to losing herself. She thus retreats. She tests. She doesn't care. Furthermore, the reality is she's keeping an eye on everything. Not you words, but your vitality. How do you respond to her quiet? How do you react when does she appear to be unavailable? This is where true love is fought, is validated. A man who is aware of this becomes impenetrable. He doesn't pursue, he doesn't beg, he doesn't overthink things. He watches. He's holding the ground. He maintains a full life, his thoughts serene, his unflinching confidence because he is aware of the differences between women who is retreating and a lady who is departing. He is aware that if she really, her brief absence isn't a problem because she loves him. Danger, it's an invitation. And request for him to demonstrate his emotional depth, to demonstrate his worth, does not require her focus, but on the power he already possesses inside of himself. This is the brutal reality that the majority of men never embrace. Love isn't about unwavering love or approval. It has to do with alignment. It's concerning equilibrium. It concerns a peaceful realizing that attraction doesn't need constant assurance. A woman isn't being sincere when she ignores you, penalizing you. She's just letting oneself to gauge your level of energy corresponds with hers. And the men who don't succeed in this test, they fall apart, they message, they They over-explain, so be concerned. They demonstrate inadvertently their identity is brittle, that their self-assurance is conditional, and that their perception of approval from women determines one's value. That is completely contrary to what she desires. Because a woman's true desires is security, psychological security, and mental stability. A man who remains calm when she can fall in love with a man who is quiet. Difficult. A man who remains upright when she doesn't respond to her texts because she can have faith in her heart. Each and every action of what appears to be indifference is actually a mirror that reflects your strength back at you. You display vulnerability if you flinch. Chasing is an indication of uneasiness. However, if you maintain your composure, calmness, and while living your own life, you disclose an hidden reality that you are not here to be managed, not present all the time. Verified, not present to be evaluated by brief focus. The reason you are here is you are a valuable man and you are worth innate, for this reason, comprehension. The psychology of women is important. Males are taught to react to a chase using pursue, to respond to separation with desperation. However, the most powerful men do the reverse. They're still anchored. They respect her personal space. They regard her with respect, procedure. They believe if love is sincere, she'll pay attention again. Not due to the fact that they pursued it, but because she feels secure enough to approach. Furthermore, the most potent feature of this dynamic, she starts noticing. She feels a growing sense of desire. She starts to feel that tug that makes her heart pound. When she understands that her beloved man is unbreakable, independent, and untouchable. Thus, inquire yourself at this moment, when she disregards, do you rise or do you crumble? Do you let her silence control your mood? Or do you maintain your authority in silence? With assurance, understanding that love doesn't die without being there, it spreads throughout the area, where vulnerability and strength collide. Consider that carefully, then write or leave a comment with your response. If this realization hit home, please share, like, and subscribe. Video featuring a dude who should watch this, the truth about women, psychology, and love yearning. There is a secret that women don't freely acknowledge, but every man can see. Assuming he's listening, when she is in love, she probes your lack of presence, your quietness, your limits. She doesn't wish to punish, manipulate, or ensnare you. She wants to know whether you're a man or not, who is able to totally exist on their own while keeping room for her. This is the paradox that most guys find confusing. Love is not quantified by fixed presence, but by your treatment of her distance. Her disregard for you is not the issue. The signal is it. It's that your ego isn't prepared to comprehend. You see, the majority of guys interpret affection as well as neglect as rejection. It's a trap because a woman's minds don't operate in absolutes. She doesn't fall in love in a straight line, and she doesn't create in order to test your love. Drama or outright hostility. She gives it a try, by retreating, by leaving a void, by making you either fold beneath insecurity or gain self-assurance. That you sense the distance, the stress, the uncertainty, and uneasiness are not penalty. It's a mirror. It displays your actual emotional condition. Additionally, she observes everything, the way your energy shifts, your voice, your degree of command. All responses are data. Each and every an emotional reaction is evidence of your stability or brittleness. The key is right here. Men are blind. She is not disregarding you. Since she seems unconcerned, she's carrying it out, because she has an excessive amount of profound concern occasionally for her personal comfort. She's assessing how strongly she feels against her apprehensions of injury. She's silently wondering herself, am I able to trust will he manage me if I give him my heart? When I'm unpredictable, will he crumble if I take a step back? And the men who fear, who seek, who plead for clarification, do they fail? However, the men who are still there, grounded, self-assured, and confident, they go by. They become indestructible. They turn magnetic. Consider it. Chasing doesn't produce attraction. Overexposure doesn't create desire. The way a woman thinks is different. She experiences suspense, enigma, difficulty, and stability concurrently. When she ignoring you isn't chilly, I love you. It's a method to determine whether your internal basis is capable of managing intimacy without requiring continual comfort. She is evaluating your emotions. Her gravity matches hers. Whether your worth depends on her focus or if it exists on its own. Furthermore, this test is only temporary. It's just until she is assured of your stability, your power, and self-possession. However, the reason most guys fail is because they interpret testing as a form of rejection, separation as a danger, and failure is quiet. That's precisely what she doesn't want you to do. She is looking for a man who responds calmly, who doesn't beg, who doesn't spiral, who doesn't reveal too much. A man who is aware of that love is not possession, rather it is focus, is not used to determine value, and that desire grows in space rather than continuously. Proximity. She's ignoring you when she's not engaging in gaming. She is disclosing the unspoken reality of her emotions and seeing whether you have the energy to match the intensity of her inner feelings. Now picture this, a lady who loves you, an individual whose heart is pounding for you but is careful as well. She takes a step back, pushing the limits, taking measurements, the degree of self-control you possess. And rather than being alarmed, you continue to live life to the fullest, work for your objectives, and keep your self-assurance. You don't send texts continuously. You don't plead with her. Confirmation. You maintain your composure. You remain powerful. You remain mindful of your own life. Then she realizes, she senses it. The tension changes, the tug increases in intensity. The affection she put to the test starts to intensify as she spots a male, whose worth is independent of her acceptance. The presence of a man who can lastly have faith, an unwavering man despite her feelings. Thus, this is every man has to respond to this question when she disregards you. Do you fold into insecurity or do you emerge from your strength? Do you give her room to show her actual emotions? Or do you pursue delusions of power? Because if you are able to maintain your composure, self-assurance, and vibrant in your own vitality, the affection she feels for you increases rapidly. The you turn to quiet as an ally, the separation becomes your evidence, and the link becomes indisputable. Consider about that at the moment. Type your response within the remarks, and if this strikes a chord, please share, like, and subscribe to this video. With a man who is prepared to comprehend the psychology of her affection, her distance, as well as the strength of maintaining the ground. This is the section that most men never grasp. The love of a woman is seldom spoken verbally or consistently pay attention. It is conveyed in subtle signals, in the stress of not being there, in the attraction that causes her to become abruptly aloof and then magnetically captivating. When she disregards you, it's not because she doesn't give a damn, it's because she's feeling excessively. She's making an effort to balance the strength of her feelings and the terror of weakness. If you misunderstand it, you sabotage the relationship she's attempting to defend. This is the point at which most men fail. They perplex attachment with control, love with possession, affirmation and attention. Consider it. Women are aware of stability. They are able to quickly determine whether a man's identity is linked to her answers. Additionally, when she withdraws, you are not being punished by her. She's observing. She's determining if your identity is resilient enough to endure ambiguity. Depending on whether your energy is steady, even when her focus is not at all. The more powerful your presence, the more alluring you become. The more you chase, the the quicker you eliminate the she's developing an internal attraction. Each text message you send, each phone call, you make every effort to provide an explanation, strengthens her fear of quitting up her heart since she's not merely interested in, she wants safety, love. The conundrum is this: desire is heightened by her distance. Her presence is more noticeable when she is absent, significant. And the men who comprehend most guys never have this harness's power. Acknowledge its existence, they don't respond. Emotionally to retreat, they remain centered. They continue to live their way, their self-assurance and independence. They keep expanding, succeeding, and live life to the fullest. And what takes place? She begins observing. She senses the tug. She starts to yearn for the man who was still there unaffected by her brief withdrawal. She feels the magnetic strain that makes her yearning more intense than before. Could by paying close attention. However, this has a deeper level. When a lady loves you, she ignores you. Is evaluating your emotional intelligence sovereignty. She's curious if you can be intimately trusted, if your self-esteem comes from within, if your worth is unalterable. She wants to know if you maintain your center as she moves her own emotional intricacy. She's silently inquiring, can I let down my walls? Can I put my trust in him given the chaos of my emotions? Will he remain steadfast when I'm erratic? And the responses to these words do not contain questions. They are present in presence, vitality, and the unwavering power of a man who not define anything based on her responses. Himself. What most males overlook is this, completely. She is not disregarding you. Engage in gaming. She's demonstrating to you how much she shows concern by examining the basis of your masculinity. She would like to know if you are the type of guy who can deal with true love that is fearless. True love is sloppy, erratic, and occasionally quiet. And the men who are successful are those who are able to maintain themselves in the who can allow the strain to exist in silence. Without passing out, who can stay completely alive even in the absence of attention. These men go on to become remarkable. These are the men she wishes to make a decision. Thus, when you experience a twinge of discomfort, the instant when her remember that distance might feel like rejection, this. Her quietness is your chance. It serves as a mirror for you. It is the evidence, basis for your inner power. Do you rise or do you shrink? Do you cling or do you enlarge? Do you allow your worth to be rely on her presence or do you anchor in oneself? In actuality, the man who can respond to these inquiries quietly, confidence will never be disregarded, not because women pay attention all the time, but because women are naturally drawn to in the direction of the man who is capable of complete existence, separately and resolutely, in the intricacy of emotions. Right now, I want you to think, when she tugs, what is your initial instinct when you or away? Do you give up or do you panic? Enter your response in the comments section. If this message speaks to you, please like and subscribe, and forward this video to a companion who must comprehend the hidden psychology of female affection, separation, and yearning. At this point, the majority of men are unable to notice what is directly in front of them. When she disregards you, when she retracts as she puts it's not rejection, it's patience, revelation. Her heart is opening in a way she is unable to articulate in words, a method that only the most powerful, well-founded man is able to identify. Every second she's measuring the distance in steps, your steadiness, your self-assurance, your possession of oneself, and the reality is that most males. This is something you should never accept. Her affection is demonstrating itself in the interim, not in continual proximity. The quiet, the distance, the absence. All of them are mirrors. Mirrors that don't reflect her emotions, but your own. How do you react when she takes a step back? Do you collapse into neediness, into fear, into excessive compensation? Or do you ascend into serenity, into self-respect, into a man's spirit who doesn't require confirmation to understand his value? The men who don't pass this test misinterpret her affection for apathy, and their distress only serves to validate her fears, never expressed. That emotional steadiness, confidence, and strength are not yet entirely yours. However, the males who pass this test, the guys who stay calm, self-assured, and completely oneself, become magnetic beyond description. This is what occurs when you do it correctly. She begins to pursue, not as a result of pushing, not as a result of your manipulation, but since your absence demonstrates to her the strength of your presence. She senses the seriousness of an emotionally sovereign. She feels the need that intensifies due to her perception of a dude with untouchable energy, autonomous and reliable. Additionally, ironically, the harder she tries to pull, the farther she goes, the more she is lured in, because she has a gut feeling that the man she is attracted to, but not defined by her focus, but by the unwavering self-confidence that he possesses. Consider the psychology of this. A loving woman will make tension to test the situation, not to harm you. Depth of your masculinity. She desires to determine whether you can maintain your composure in the tempest of her feelings. She desires to determine whether your worth is inherent or conditional. She's curious as to whether she may confide in you despite her disarray. Heart. And each response you have, every panic attack, every desperate message, every effort to yank her away, gives her the precise instruction she needs to understand. If you are the man capable of genuinely capture her heart, or if your love is feeble, reliant, and readily shaken. However, this is the game-changing, the truth. Once you comprehend this, you enter a new realm of power. A force thing doesn't demand attention, a force that does not respond to being absent with desperation. A force that permits love to exist completely, profoundly, and without neediness. The individual who can stay completely. As she tests him, he gets grounded and turns into the she can't resist the dude. The guy who is able to prosper despite her emotional instability turns into the man she feels most secure around. The man who comprehends women, fundamentally, psychology turns into the man who turns her yearning into something enduring devotion. This is your challenge, then. That the next time she disregards you, she retreats, fighting the need to chase. Keep your energy level constant. Continue to your confidence, your life, and your autonomy. Show her that your value is innate, and your stability is unwavering, that your attraction is unbreakable. And in that area, odd as it might seem, the attraction turns into unquestionably, desire turns into a magnet, and her love increases after being tried and challenged. More powerful than before, I now desire you should respond to this truthfully. If she 3 days of ignoring you and you keep your composure, your self-assurance, and your autonomy, what do you believe she has feelings for you and why? Compose your leave a comment with your response, like subscribe, and forward this video to a companion who must comprehend the hidden female love psychology, the strength of quiet, as well as the might of someone who is familiar with his own poetry.